Hello, and welcome to our Pittsburgh Clean Car Standards press conference featuring local elected officials along with medical professionals and clean air advocates. Our speakers have come together to talk about the economic and public health benefits for reducing pollution from automobiles and to call on the Environmental Protection Agency to adopt strong clean car standards for model years 2027 through 2035. For our agenda, we'll have 2 to 3 minutes of formal remarks from each of our speakers will be visible and audible via their video. At the end of the formal remarks, we'll have a brief session for questions related to today's event. I now want to introduce Allegheny County Councilwoman Anita Prizio, who represents the 3rd District. Councilwoman, the microphone is yours.
Good morning, everyone. As a member of Allegheny County Council, I strongly urge the EPA to move quickly to enact clean new car standards for models years 2027 and to 2035 to limit carbon pollution and spur the clean energy economy. By making cars cleaner, we can dramatically cut the air pollution that is damaging the residents of Allegheny County. We are in the worst 1% of regions nationally for cancers caused by air pollution. The transportation sector is both a large source of climate pollution and a driving force of our local economy. Although Allegheny County is not the site of any major auto manufacturers, you would be surprised how many machine shops and small manufacturers located in the county throughout Pennsylvania are Tier 1 suppliers to Ford, GM, and others. Having spent the bulk of my working career in the automotive industry and now working at a nonprofit, Steel Valley Authority, whose mission is saving Pennsylvania manufacturing jobs, I know how critical the automotive sector is to Pennsylvania. A strong, ambitious, clean car standard would absolutely provide new opportunities for Pennsylvania manufacturers. These small and medium-sized machine shops would begin ramping up in anticipation of the new parts required by these new standards. I call on Pennsylvania's federal elected officials to fight for this new round of stronger federal clean air standards, and Allegheny County will do their part by ensuring there are enough EV charging stations to accommodate these clean cars. I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Holly Jensen. She's a travel ER nurse, and an ANHE member. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. So as a nurse and a resident of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I absolutely agree that the Environmental Protection Agency and the Biden administration must set the strongest possible vehicle pollution standards for all vehicles produced from 2027 to 2035. Pittsburgh, my chosen home, unfortunately has a legacy of pollution. And although that's changed from when our city was covered in coal smoke, Allegheny County still receives an F by the American Lung Association State of the Air report. A major contributor to our pollution today is from cars, from tailpipe pollution. So it makes sense that addressing and creating strong clean car standards would actually really help our air quality. The specialty I've had in nursing the last several years has been working in the emergency room. So I am intimately aware of what it looks like when somebody cannot breathe, from infants to the elderly. I have this really vivid memory, especially because it was the first time I was majorly exposed to COVID, and that was a scary time. I had a patient who was clearly sick, but we weren't sure what was going on. And it just happened so suddenly that he was on room air. Then we're putting oxygen on him, then we're putting more oxygen, and then he's on a rebreather. And then suddenly we're hauling him across the ER to another room so the doctor can put a tube down into his lungs so we can put him on a breathing machine. And I remember when all was said and done and he was stable on the ventilator, the COVID swab came back and someone said it was detected. And that, that story's happened over and over the last several years. And it just pauses to make me think about how much worse all this was for everyone having to deal with these air quality issues. I mean, we know that Air pollution obviously increases rates of asthma, it increases rates of COPD, ischemic heart disease, pneumonia, cancer. And I see patients for these reasons every day go to work, and air quality is definitely a contributing factor. And it's one more barrier to them being healthy and being able to work and live and play and just be the friend and the family member that they want to be. So I urge the EPA and the Biden administration to enact these protections, because no matter who you are, everyone deserves to have clean air to breathe. So thank you for listening. And it is my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Vanessa Lynch, who is with Moms Clean Air Force.
Hi, everybody. As Holly just said, my name is Vanessa Lynch, and this is my niece, Riley. And I'm Pennsylvania State Coordinator for Moms Clean Air Force. We represent over 100,000 moms and dads in the Commonwealth, united against air pollution, including the urgent crisis of our changing climate, to equitably protect our children's health. I'm here today joined by these other powerful women and moms to urge the Environmental Protection Agency and President Biden to move quickly to enact the strongest possible clean car pollution standards. President Biden must continue to follow through on his climate promises and to prioritize updating regulations focused on cleaning up air pollution from cars to protect our children's health without delay. The transportation sector is the largest source of climate warming pollution in the US. And to solve the climate crisis, we need to shift our cars, trucks, and buses to 100% electric vehicles charged by 100% clean electric power sources as quickly as possible. From 2010 to 2020, Pennsylvania experienced 37 extreme weather events, costing the state up to $10 billion in damages, illustrating the increasing financial burden climate change is becoming to Pennsylvania families. Congressional leaders must act comprehensively to address climate change through supporting the EPA's Clean Car Standards, as well as the Inflation Reduction Act. A systemic, multifaceted approach to dealing with the climate crisis is needed to protect our children's little lungs and their future. The people of Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania deserve clean air. Vehicle pollution is one of the sources that drives dirty air days in Allegheny County. In fact, the county has repeatedly received F grades on the American Lung Association State of the Air report. Often, families near major roadways and other pollution hotspots are low-income communities and communities of color who then bear the brunt of air pollution and the climate crisis. The strongest possible clean car standards would reduce harmful pollution and ensure our most vulnerable communities have cleaner air. Air pollution from vehicles also worsens the air for the more than 210,000 children and 1.1 million adults suffering from asthma across Pennsylvania. By 2023, when my now 13-year-old son turns 26, or sorry, 2035, strong car standards could put American cars and light-duty trucks on a clear path towards 100% zero emission vehicle sales. I strongly support modernizing the transportation sector through stronger clean car standards, moving to pollution-free vehicles powered by clean energy sources, and investing in clean transportation. I thank Senator Bob Casey for supporting climate investments in the recent Inflation Reduction Act vote, and strongly urge Pennsylvania's congressional House members to do the same in order to equitably improve public health and create economic opportunities for all Pennsylvania families. And my niece had a couple of things that she was hoping to say as well. So,
hi, my name's Riley and I'm 9 years old. Me and my sister love playing outside and running around. But when smelly air fills our backyard, we run inside. We hate pollution, so we and our friend made the kitty cleanup crew to help out. And we were thinking about what to do next. I'm really excited to see the world get clean again, and I hope you can stop dirty air from cars in my neighborhood.
and up next we have Michelle Boyle with the SEIU. She's an SEIU nurse and ANHE member. That's a lot of letters, but she's got it all and she's great.
I don't know, that's a hard act to follow. So in Allegheny County, our children have a rate of asthma that is nearly triple the national average, a whopping 22%. In addition, over 100,000 adults in Allegheny County suffer from asthma, including my spouse, a runner, who is one of them. We lived in 3 other major cities across the country before we made Pittsburgh our home. It is here in Pittsburgh where he developed asthma. When pollution causes our children, family, and friends to struggle for air, it is inconceivable that the protection of limits on vehicle pollution was rolled back. Asthma has been deemed an epidemic. Overlay the COVID pandemic, and while Holly really was a front facing of seeing the results of that and how that affected people. Every single day, pollution from cars and trucks dirties our air, threatens our health, and can lead not only to asthma, but cardiovascular disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Also, multiple studies have found that high levels of air pollution are also linked to larger numbers of people hospitalized with pneumonia. A year ago, President Biden signed an executive order to protect our family and friends by setting ambitious targets for clean car standards. Our children, our spouses, our neighbors need members of the Pennsylvania delegation to encourage the Environmental Protection Agency to set the strongest possible vehicle pollution standards for all vehicles produced from 2027 through 2035. The solutions are at hand. Let's make sure that they happen. Our children, our neighbors, and ourselves deserve to be able to go outside on a nice day without fear of being unable to breathe. Thank you. And I am happy to pass it along to Councilperson Erika Strassburg of the Pittsburgh City Council.
Thank you, Michelle. And I want to thank all of our speakers today and our host, the Alliance of Nurses for a Healthy Environment, and particularly all of the nurses out there and those joining us today. You're truly our frontline heroes. As a local legislator, I take seriously the responsibility to make our communities safer and cleaner. And Councilwoman Prizio and I have certainly tried to use our respective positions at the county and the city level to advance environmental measures that make this region a healthy place for all families. However, the legal realities and the geographic borders naturally limit our reach when it comes to legislating in this sphere. So sometimes, like today, our job is to use the platforms our offices provide to urge action from higher levels of government. As it stands today, the body with the greatest environmental policymaking potential on this issue is the United States Environmental Protection Agency. I want to recognize and thank the Biden administration for its previous executive actions on climate and clean air, as well as congressional leaders who secured major green infrastructure investments in the American Rescue Plan, a bipartisan infrastructure package, and the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act. These policy choices will make real progress in the years and decades to come, and I'm eager to see their impacts. But much more is required from this EPA, particularly if we want to have a realistic chance to achieve our ambitious 2030 climate goals. No matter where you live, vehicle emissions are one of and probably the top pollution source in your neighborhood. The Biden administration took a strong first step 1 year ago by restoring the Obama-Biden era standards, but needs to move quickly to strengthen the EPA's post-2026 clean car standards so we can limit carbon pollution from the country's leading source, the transportation sector. And doing this is a win-win. Drivers suffering from this summer's price volatility will save money at the pump. Workers will see more jobs and economic growth in manufacturing and supply chain industries right here in Pennsylvania. By mandating higher standards on vehicle manufacturers, we can immediately improve public health, promote environmental justice, and help to avoid the most damaging effects of climate change. So for all of these reasons, I am proud to stand with fellow advocates here today, and I look forward to further action on this front. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Strassburger. and thank you to all of our speakers. That's the end of our formal remarks portion of the event. We now have a few minutes for questions related to today's event. For members of the media, if you have a question, you can use the chat function or the raise your hand function to indicate you have a question. I can also unmute your line so that you can ask your question. We ask that before you get to your question, you just state your name, media outlet, and if you have a specific panelist you're directing your question to. Again, members of the media, please use the raise your hand function or the chat function to indicate you have a question. Again, if you have any questions, you can use the raise your hand function or the chat function to indicate your question. Okay, seeing no questions, I'm going to open the floor back up to our panelists if they have any additional remarks that they would like to make. All right, hearing none, we will wrap up. Once again, I want to thank all of our speakers for their time and continued support for strong 2027 through 2035 clean car standards. I want to thank our elected officials for their leadership on this issue and many others. And I want to thank our nurses for their dedicated work as frontline health providers. I should note that a video recording of this event will be available on the Alliance of Nurses for Healthy Environments Facebook page. And I want to thank Annie for hosting today's event. Link to that video will also be sent out in the press release within the next hour. If you have any follow-up questions or requests for speaker interviews, you can connect with Nick Kowalski, whose contact information is on the press advisory, as well as the release, and I'm going to put it in the chat function as well. Thank you again to everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, everyone.